If the wrong thing has gotten into your system today, like trouble, you need an antidote, a vaccine, a blocker. You need something to deal with trouble. We're going to deal with trouble. Hello, I'm Dr. Ed Montgomery, and welcome to Vintage Wisdom. I like to call this the new wine for our new era. Jesus once made a statement, and he said that you can't put new wine in old bottles, and bottles at that particular time, 2,000 years ago, were sheepskin. It said because if you put new wine in old bottles or old sheepskins, that new wine would ferment and expand and burst the old. That's what new wine is. It is a way of thinking. It is a way of understanding. It is a wisdom that constantly expands. And you got to have new containers in order to hold it. So that's what we're being. We're being new containers to be able to hold this new wine. So make sure if you got something to say, type it in that line that you type things into. We love to hear from you. Let me know what city you're in. Share it with somebody, and also hit that like button. Don't. I know there's some that can stay back and not. Well, I'm not gonna like it. I just want to be anonymous. Like us. Let us know that. It helps the algorithms. It seems what's going on with everybody's algorithms, especially in the day that we're living in. Trouble, it's like a wave. It's like water that's being pushed and agitated by the wind when you've got a storm. That's what the word trouble is right here. And I'm going to give you something. It's out of John chapter 14. And sometimes what I like to do is I like to listen to the text audibly. And this is 2,000 years ago, but it's still words that we can listen to today and draw from. So check this out. John chapter 14 begins at verse 1, and it says,
"Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I go, you know, and the way you know." Thomas said.
Now, I stopped it there because I'm going to tell you what he said, but let not your heart be troubled. In other words, you have the ability to not let your heart be troubled, because that's why it starts with let not your heart be troubled. The heart is what is considered to be our spirit, and in a sense, it's what is, we call it our soul. And the soul spirit connection, it's that part that belongs to God as well as that part that's connected to the earth. So it's God connected, earth connected, spirit, soul. It's a mesh. It's a weave. It's something that we bring together. And of course, in our souls are the way we think, our mindset, our emotions, our personality. And these are the things that can constantly get bombarded from the outside. And it seems so much of it is happening in our world today. I don't have to tell you. It's just adding up to trouble. And trouble is the conflict. Trouble is the water that's being agitated by the wind. It's almost like a washing machine, back and forth, vroom, 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 vroom. And when that wind in a storm is constantly moving and going at 40, 50, 60 miles per hour, that's where we get all that hurricane stuff down here in Texas. It's causing the wind to batter against things, say like a boat is in the water. It's battering against the boat. It is causing the boat to go back and forth and almost upending it. That's what the concept of trouble is. When Peter was in the text walking the water, it says that he looked up and he saw the wind boisterous, and it caused him to sink. Well, he was already walking on the water, which was walking on top of trouble. But when he saw the wind, which you cannot see wind, all you can do is feel its effects or see its effects as it affects the water. You see the effects of the wind. So trouble is how your emotions and how our minds and how the things around us, maybe our children dealing with things, maybe a spouse is dealing with something. Maybe we come home and we bring our job home. Maybe you got up this morning and, hey, you had everything going quite well. But then, the cat just jumped off and began walking on the keyboard while you were just about to send a very important document. I don't have a cat, so I wouldn't know. But my point is, trouble comes from around us. Trouble agitates. And so this passage of scripture says, let not your mind, your will, your emotions, or your heart be agitated. Now watch this. It says, let not, which means the control of trouble. You can't control the trouble, but you can control how the trouble affects you. Oh, goodness gracious alive. And that's where the tough part of it comes in. We can't control what's around us, but we can control how we allow these things to affect us, how we allow the trouble to agitate our emotions and to agitate our thinking, to agitate how we respond to someone, the personality that we have, our countenance. I'm not saying you're supposed to go around smiling at everything. What I'm saying is we have the ability to let something in or not let it in. Let it happen or not let it happen. And if we let it happen, do we know how to embrace it, to face it and embrace it in such a way that it does not defeat us? Because you can't get rid of everything. There's some trouble that just has a tendency to linger in the corner over there. I sometimes look at it as a boxing match. You're in one corner and the trouble's in the other corner. And when the bell rings, trouble comes out and you got to go out and you got so much time to try and defeat this trouble. Hopefully you can knock it out the first round, but you may not be able to. But trouble will. The bell rings again and the trouble got to go back to its corner. And you at least have a season of semi-peace because you're still looking at the trouble. But you can let not the trouble, not by not looking at it, but by keeping your attention focused on what you're about to do in the next round. It's not about what the trouble gonna do to you. It's about what you are about to do to the trouble. And here is what Jesus says. He says, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Now, there are several words that are a little concerning here because, first of all, the word belief is concerning, and the word God is concerning. There's no way in the world I'm going to get through. I see this now. I'm going to get through this whole thing. But I'll say it real quick. The word belief is not what we are trying to keep in our mind or trying to keep as a bubble inside of our brain. Someone tells you to believe that this color is red, or to believe that that color is blue, or to believe that unicorns are real, or to believe that an angel is going to come down with big gigantic wings and 8 feet tall. These are things, and we say, you got to believe it, you got to believe it, you got to believe it. And so we try to hold on to the thought. The thought is like bubbles. Remember blowing bubbles? And the bubble comes out and you got a big bubble. It's like a thought being inside of a bubble. How long is that bubble going to last? How long is that bubble going to float before the bubble bursts? You don't know. But you try to hold on to it, because sooner or later, you know it's going to burst. And that's the way thoughts are, or how we believe. We believe that this is what the Bible teaches us to do, to hold on to a thought and try to keep holding on to it before it bursts, or hopefully that it never bursts. But sometimes it will burst. You say, but then my belief burst. How many beliefs have you ever had that burst? Come on, tell me the truth. All of us have had beliefs that we had at one time, but later down the road, I don't think it's that we don't have them anymore, but we seem to have grown out of them. It's not that we don't have, that we can't, the shoes are not right anymore or no good. It's that our foot got bigger when we were growing up as kids, and we couldn't wear the shoes. And so the shoes were given away maybe to the sibling under you or somebody else. All them tennis shoes, hey, them old Nikes, boy, I'll take them. And they clean them all up and they look good on somebody else. But you couldn't wear them anymore because they didn't fit anymore. And there's some beliefs that we have in our brains that don't fit anymore. And so we outgrow them. It does not mean they were bad. It means that's what they were at that time. But this kind of what we call faith, this kind of religion, where we're waiting on a bubble to burst and we're trying to hopefully get another thought that's going to, you can't live like that. And Jesus did not expect us to live like that. This is not the way God did this. When it says believe, it does not mean to hold a thought in a bubble that will break. The word believe means to follow. It means to be loyal to. It means to have a kinship to. It means to be disciplined, which is a learner under discipline. So when Jesus makes the statement about believing in him, he did not ask them to hold a particular thought about him in their brain inside of a bubble. You can't do that. He asked them when he said, believe in me or believe in the Son of Man. That's what he would always say. It means to follow. It means to get on a road with and to walk with. Now, the word God, we know that the word God, that's not God's name. God's name is not God. God, every time we look at the word God is a symbol in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. So what was God? However you think of God, however you see God, however you conceive of God. That's why we have to be very careful about when we tell people that's not the right way. You're going the wrong way. I'm going the right way. He says, if you believe in God, if And the word God, if we were to give some kind of definition to it, God would mean the source of all life, the beginning, the first declaration. You said somebody say the Big Bang, it would be the thought that would lead to the Big Bang. God is the source. This is about the closest we're going to get tonight. The source of life. So it says, if you follow or are connected to, that's the word there. If you believe, if you connect and walk down the road with the source of all life. Jesus says, if you're doing that with the source of all life, he says, believe in me or connect with me like that. Wow. If you believe in God, believe also in me. If you connect to the source, then connect with me. Now watch this. He says, because in my Father's house are many mansions. Now, I already know, time-wise, I'm not going to make it. But that is in this particular teaching, and we'll pick it up next time. But I do know that Jesus says, if we connect with the source of living, he says, then connect with me. And if you connect with me, I'm going to show you something. That in my Father's house are many mansions, which means not heaven somewhere. We always read this at funerals. But he's saying this whole source of living in the Father, in the source of all life, in his kingdom, in his space of living, there are many little cubby holes. That's what mansions mean here. It doesn't mean big, gigantic mansions. I'm going to my mansion in the sky. There are many cubby holes or many apartments. You can look it up yourself. That's what that word mansion means. It means apartments. So in the hotel, there are many rooms. If you go into a hotel, a Holiday Inn, if you go anywhere, a Hilton, you go into a room, you go into the hotel, that's the Father's house. That's the source of everything. And then you can go into rooms, room 201, 202, 204, 206. You can go into the rooms. And each room in the Father or in the source of all life's house, in the source of God himself, there is peace. There is abundance. There is more than enough to get us through. There is calmness when in the midst of panic. There is peace in the midst of storms in our minds, when our minds are going left and right, backward and forward, when we can't seem to get stability. You ever been there? I have. When sometimes it feels like going down a dark hole, and it seems like there's no end in sight. You don't even know where bottom is, let alone trying to get back up to the top. I don't know. I think that's why it's so important that we all connect to each other in this house, in this framework, because in God's house there is peace and there's abundance when the bills don't seem to be able to get paid, in between jobs and in between careers. These things are where our source comes in, and where all of us who are in this house are apart. Jesus says, if 2 or 3 of you come together, like we are right now, he says, I will be in the midst of you. In other words, you don't have to necessarily go find a church building. You make church happen when 2 or 3 of you actually come together. Now, we're together right here. We're together right now. Something is happening in this moment. And this is what gives us peace, or gives us the ability to not let the trouble in, because I'm in the apartment of peace. So I'm not going to let the trouble of a messed up mind get me. I'm in the apartment of abundance. I'm looking around now. Everything that I need is in the space that I'm in. That's what Jesus actually says. He says, if you believe in God, if you are connected to the source, connect to me. Because in the source's house, in the source's expanse, there are many apartments. He says, and if it were not so, I would not even tell you. He says, and I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there ye may be also. Now listen to this. And I'm going to have to get out of here because my time is almost up. We have a tendency in Christian circles, and the way we have been taught through European Christianity and how that kind of thing works, that God is way out there somewhere and Jesus has left here and he's on this, and one day he's going to come back. But we haven't asked the obvious question. Who was he talking to? He was talking to his own disciples. He said, and if I go away, I will return. What happened? He went away after he was crucified and died. But he came back. He says, I will come again and receive you into myself. And the scriptures teach that as when he resurrected from the dead, it says that when he went to see his disciples, he received them. And he also told them, receive you, the Holy Spirit. So what does that mean? That where I am, there, it's not about us waiting for Jesus to come from the sky to take us to heaven. It is waiting on him to realize. It's not him realizing, it's waiting on us to realize that we are already connected to the source, to the space and the expanse. So that when we follow him and learn of Jesus, we learn how to connect with I am. For where I am, there you may be also. And this is what we are told in Ephesians chapter 1. Look it up. I don't know the exact verse, but it's in there. And it says that we are seated. When Jesus was raised from the dead, we were seated in heavenly places in Christ. So that where Christ is, wherever he is in us and we are in him. Listen, by the time I finish this chapter, you will see that so clear. Look, this world is confusing. And I'm at the point now I'm saying, Lord, I don't even know how we're going to get out of some of the things we're in. But as long as we stay together, and I hope that this brings value to your life. So take that moment. Go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. And you can hit that donate button. It'll make a difference. Or you can call or use your text to give. 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. Use that text to give. Believe me, that's the fastest way of doing it. And it makes sure that I can keep bringing this to you because it gets expensive. Not just this, but other platforms and things like that. It gets expensive. But together, I ain't worried about no expense here because we live in that room called abundance. So whether it's $7 or $14 or $21, whatever it might be $25. You might say, tonight, that's what I want to do right here, right now. I'm going to help you through this. Do it. Because it makes a huge difference. And not only along that line too, make sure that you smash that subscribe button, especially if you're watching by YouTube. Hit it. Subscribe. Because it keeps us constantly in touch with each other. So when I got new videos coming out, they'll notify you. Also, I think they say there's a bell you can hit. Bing! Hit that bell, and it'll notify you about when these videos come out. Look, I gotta go. My time is up. But don't forget, don't let the conflict keep agitating you. Shake it off and receive the abundance and the joy that you already possess because you're already in Him and He in you. Don't let your heart be troubled. Take the vaccine, okay? All right. See you later. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash it, crash it. Let us know you're there.